I have been working on this 1944 Ford 2N tractor. I wanted to put this video together today to show an alternative to the other videos that I found that show the valves come out very easily. I think that someone prearranged to have those valves come out easily when they filmed their videos. I want to show you a technique that I found that actually worked for me. I wanted to put this video together to show an alternative for removing valves on this Ford 2N tractor. It's a 1944 that belonged to my wife's grandfather. These three valves that you see this is the right valve gallery. The three valves on the left-hand side all had seats that were very badly pitted. I ended up having to remove the valves and fix the seats, and I wanted to show you the alternative for how I ended up removing these valves. I think these may be the original valves in the tractor. They've got a mushroom end head on them, and they've got a special clip that holds the spring on. It's not like the valves that are depicted in the current videos that I found out there on the web. So this valve has a clip down there, the valve spring. There is, you can barely see it at the top, there's the clip that holds the valve guide in the engine itself, and then the valve up on top. So I'm going to show you how I removed this valve, with a disclaimer that I've already had it out once, and I decided I should show this on a video so that the rest of the world could either have fun at my technique or use it and save it for posterity. Okay, these are the tools that I use to get the valve out. You'll see the penetrating oil. I put that and soaked the valve guide with that for about 3 days. It took about 3 days for it to finally come free, where I could use the rest of the tools to use it. If you don't use the penetrating oil, these are valve guides that the first two valve guides that I removed, and they end up breaking in there, and I end up having to force them out just with using power words. The valve spring compressor, very important to help you get the parts out of there. And then the silver tool is a Ford flathead valve guide removal tool. I tracked that down at a parts store for a parts website for Model A, specializing in Model A cars. Now I'm going to remove the valve. I did mention before that I already have had this valve out one time, but I'm doing this video to show you how it does come out. I've got my valve spring compressor. Oh, before we get started, there's lots of loose parts and stuff that could break. I have got a cattle magnet, which I put over the valve hole, the drain hole there, and I've got another cheap magnet I picked up somewhere I put over there. They've already saved my bacon. One of the other valve guides did shatter, and this kept them from going down into the engine block. So now that I've got the magnets in there to cover the little holes, I put my valve spring compressor in, and okay, so you can see the valve clip is here. Maybe that's not the right part for it. But it's supposed to just come off. There it comes. So you can see the bottom of the valve is not like the ones in the other video. This has got a mushroomed head on it. So I'm thinking this is an original valve. But what this now allows me to do is to get the valve spring out. So if I raise the valve up, get the valve spring out of there. Hope this isn't too disjointed for everybody watching. I'll cut it out so you miss all of the boring parts. Okay, so I've got the valve compressed. I'm forcing it out the front. Now I'm just spinning it off the valve guide. Okay. Well, it may not have been the prettiest part, but the valve spring came out. So now you can see I've got the valve guide with the valve in it. And there's two little dimples down there, or two little notches on the bottom. So I put my valve guide removal tool and the secret crowbar, and this just gives me the leverage. Oh, well, look at that, it came all the way down. So the clip will now come off, and in this case I'll just take the valve guide out this way because I have access to it. But what I normally would do is push it using these guides back up through the top, and then the valve comes out as well. And so it wasn't pretty, and I do have a replacement new guide to put in there. And with that, we'll call it quits. We'll call it good. I was watching the video that I just made, and I've come to the conclusion that some of the parts that I've removed on there, you can't tell what I was really doing. So I thought I would show you with the valve assembly out what we really were doing. So we've got the valve head, the two parts of the valve guide. Here's that little clip that holds the guide into the block, and then here's the clip that holds the spring on. So I compressed it. Compress the spring with the valve guide, and that allowed this clip to be removed. Then the spring can come off. Now let me remove the power on this spring, or the tension on this spring. Oop, I'm glad that it went that way. So there's the spring, and then you were allowed to, this allowed me to move the valve assembly, or the valve guide assembly down. I could grab and remove this little clip which holds it on there. The valve guide is in two pieces, so they come out, and then here's the valve itself. We've got the mushroom head on one end and the valve head on the other. This happens to be an intake valve. It's a little bit larger in diameter than the exhaust valves.